economic advisor KV Subramanian with us. Thank you so much for speaking with Hindustan Times. I think this is a question you must be getting. Thank you. This is a question you must be getting quite a lot these days. When can we expect the second stimulus package?
Very soon.
Because many people have said that this is such an emergency, this is such a financial emergency that every day is making it worse. Could you give us an idea of, what is it that is causing the delay, sir?
Primarily, work is on trying to make it very comprehensive. Not just in terms of the stimulus, both in from a short-term perspective, medium to long-term perspective, bringing in some reform measures as well, and trying to make it as comprehensive as possible. And that's the look. Policy making is also about balancing the different interests, and that's something that is being taken into account. Do recognize that during the period of the lockdown, in any case, economic activity has remained down. Because while the lockdown is on, you can't do a bunch of economic activities anyways.
Sure. Is there, lots of, we are hearing lots of voices, people of concern. I'm sure you hear the opposition leaders and the, financial experts. I know that you are part of those meetings where you have consulted many stakeholders. They're all suggesting several figures. One suggestion that many people looking at US giving a 10% of their GDP as stimulus. Others have said that India should at least look at 5 to 7% of its GDP as part of this stimulus package. What they did in the first round wasn't enough. Do you want to comment on such suggestions?
I certainly want to, because there are a few key aspects that I want to actually throw some light on. Firstly, if you look at the numbers, I think we have to be a little careful in not adding apples and oranges. If you look at those aspects of the package that is not a direct cost, just to take as an example, the loans that are given on which guarantees are given. I'm going to take the example of the package that the UK came up with. The package given by the United Kingdom had a 350 billion pound loan, package to various corporates, which was basically guaranteed by the government. Now, the entire cost of that is certainly not 350 billion pounds. It is going to be a fraction of that, possibly about 35 billion pounds. And so the number that's floating around saying 15% of GDP, that number you get when you add the 350 billion pounds. But when you actually add the proper cost, which is a fraction of that, about 35 billion pounds, the actual number comes out to be 3.7% of GDP and not 15% of GDP. A similar analysis, if you do it for the United States as well, it does not come to be 10% of GDP. It comes around 6.7, 6.8% of GDP. So we have to first, I think, be very careful in the numbers that we use. And I think that's an exercise that we have done very carefully. We've looked at each of those packages. Second part that we have to remember is, unlike the United States, the dollar is a reserve currency. And so they can, they have far more ability to be able to, sort of fund packages like these. Rupee is not a reserve currency. Secondly, look at the tax to GDP ratio, and the part of the population that is taxed, about 40 to 50% of the population in the United States pays taxes. In contrast, in India, is actually less than 10%.